The topic the topic given to me was the modes of ventilation. But as you have seen, the basic modes have already been covered with Dr. Shrikant. So I'll move on to advanced modes, and I'll try to summarize few of them. I don't know how many of you are using them or have seen them. That's it. So going back to origin of mechanical ventilation, the first mechanical ventilator which was patented was by Mr. Draeger, and it was in 1907. And this ventilator was a non-intubating type of ventilator, so bag and bellows by the face mask. And initially it was used by the police and the fire units. Then came this famous iron lung, and with the polio epidemic in 20s to 30s, this was the scenario in the ICUs where hundreds these machines were lying and people were struggling to survive with these ventilators. This was another negative pressure ventilator. These were negative pressure ventilators because they were sucking the air out of this jacket, and because of that negative pressure the chest was inflating. So you put a patient in a cylinder and suck out the air, and because of that the air from oral cavity go inside to the lungs. So that was the thing. But again you can understand how unphysiological thing was that. These are the modern ventilators. So positive pressure ventilator started with Massachusetts General Hospital in 1955, not very old. And this is the different type of old ventilators. I don't know whether you have seen these or not, but I have got chance to use this ventilator way back 30 years back in a government hospital. They were being fixed on a IV pole and we used to use them. So these are the different advanced mode which I would like to cover: pressure regulated volume control, volume support, auto flow, automatic tube compensation. This is not a mode but is a modality, but since it's important thing I would like to discuss: proportional assist ventilation or partial pressure support, adaptive support ventilation, volume assured pressure support, active exhalation, auto mode, and neurally adjusted ventilatory support. And I would like to little bit touch upon the high frequency oscillatory ventilation as well. So why going to advanced mode? Ventilation is a journey. You can complete journey by any of the means. But again, this journey can be achieved more safely to assist patient, less likelihood of ventilator associated lung injury, less hemodynamic compromises, more effectively ventilate and oxygenate patient, less need of sedation and paralysis, improve patient ventilator synchrony, and to achieve more rapid weaning. So that is why this is the ideal thing. That is why we are adding new and new modes nowadays. And with the microprocessor based units, adding a new mode, making a new mode becomes very easy, because imagine those times when the mechanical ventilators were there, multiple valves were there. At that time, adding a new mode, how difficult it would be. But nowadays, when everything is working with a microprocessor, the things becomes little easy. Coming to bi-level ventilation, as in previous discussion, Dr. Goel has already discussed the difference between the NIV and the bi-level. So what is bi-level? In this bi-level, can you see these lines? So there are two pressures, pressure 1 and pressure 2. Patient is allowed to breathe on both the levels. So patient is allowed to breathe at high pressure as well as low pressure both. And imagine if patient is not having any spontaneous respiration, what will happen? This will work like as a pressure control ventilation, because here the pressure starts rising. This is the control limit and pressure coming down. So this area under curve becomes the tidal volume if patient is not having any spontaneous breath. But if this patient is having spontaneous breath, then of course you can see some spontaneous activity here and here. So it substantially improves for spontaneous breathing. It gives better synchronization. It provides more option for supporting spontaneous breaths, and it has got potential for improved monitoring as well, because you can see what is what is being happening at these spontaneous breath. As soon the patient's recovery starts taking place, his spontaneous effort will become more vigorous and he'll generate more and more tidal volume. At either pressure level, the patient can breathe spontaneously. Spontaneous breaths may be supported by pressure support. So you can apply pressure support right up here or right at the lower PEEP level as well. If PS is set higher than PEEP high or pressure high, this level, then PS supports the spontaneous breath at the upper pressure. So if it is higher than this, then at a spontaneous level it is supporting this. So it becomes a pressure support type of ventilation here. Coming to another mode, which is a small variant of this bi-level. Bi-level is patented by Draeger. That's why you will not find name anywhere. Maybe in some modification, some patent, small modification with GE machines also, they have also started coming up with this bi-level. APRV is again patented by Draeger, but APRV mode is now available in Mackay, GE, Puritan Bennett, and of course Draeger. So it's a positive pressure ventilation strategy in acute lung injury and ARDS. And oxygenation and recruitment mode, it's a bi-level form of ventilation with sudden short release. So what is happening? Try to understand here. This is the P low, this is the P high. But try to see here. The high time is too long. So the air is being pushed into the lungs and it is kept there. And then there is a very small period of release. So here the pressure is being released. So expiration is taking place during this release phase. Okay. It can work both in a apneic patient or a spontaneous patient. I will show you how it can work. As you can see here, this is the airway pressure going high. This is a spontaneous breath here. Again release, spontaneous breath, we can work here. And this is a CMV. And if you combine this effort to this effort area from here to here, it becomes the tidal volume. So it is allowing the fixed tidal volume to deliver to patient as well as spontaneous activity on top of that. So it requires very less sedation and less discomfort to the patient. This is an open lung ventilation strategy. As you all know, there is a zone of overdistension, zone of de-recruitment at atelectasis. This is a safe window. So what we are doing, we are applying a high PEEP and sticking on to that PEEP. We are not allowing that PEEP to go back to zero line. Okay, by applying this APRV. So as you can see, here is the release, and you can see the release is very small period. So its APRV is always implies an inverse ratio ventilation from 4:1 to maybe 8:1, 6:1 is the inverse ratio, extreme inverse ratio ventilation, which is never heard of in any pressure control or volume control settings. Okay, all spontaneous breath doing at the upper pressure level. So in BiPAP, patient could have been taken breath at both the levels, upper and lower. Here, because the lower period is so small, patient cannot take breath. So patient spontaneous breaths are allowed only at the higher level. So try to understand, we are delivering a tidal volume as well, we are creating a pressure also, and top of that we are not paralyzing patient. What happens in an inverse ratio ventilation? Otherwise, when we use pressure control inverse ratio as per ARDS net protocol, we have to paralyze those patients once we go beyond 1:1, because it becomes very difficult for patient, very uncomfortable for patient, and suddenly the intrathoracic volume can go high and barotrauma can happen. But here the beauty of this ventilation is you can apply high pressures without sedating and paralyzing your patient. With use of minimum sedation, you can use a high pressure ventilation here. So inspiratory pressure is set between 20 to 30 centimeter of water. Imagine, patient should look comfortable breathing spontaneously at this pressure to be moving volumes from 100 to 300 ml. Expiratory pressure set between 0 to 2 to 3 centimeter of water. Inspiratory time set between 3 to 5 seconds. Expiratory time set between 0.5 to 1 second. Larger times leads to loss of recruitment. So if I increase the expiratory time too much, automatically the PEEP loss will be there and the de-recruitment will take place. So try to imagine, say for example 5:1. So I ratio becomes 5:1. Here it becomes 6:1. Okay. So I ratio is set between 4:1 to 10:1. Set rate never exceeds 20 breath per minute, and it may take several hours before oxygenation shows some improvement. Coming to another type of modes, they are dual modes. What is happening? Try to recapitulate from the previous talk. In volume control, what was the problem? Fixed volume, flow, fixed flow, limited flow. Okay. In pressure control, what was the problem? Variable volume, and the benefit was flow was not limited. So benefit of pressure control is that flow is not limited, and the benefit of volume control is that volume is guaranteed. So why can't we take benefit of both the systems with a microprocessor and combine them? That's how it becomes a dual mode. So in dual mode, what is happening? We are trying to guarantee a tidal volume as well, whereas we are keeping flow variable. So we are enjoying both the sides of fence. So they are combine advantage of both volume control and pressure control. Recently developed modes, not very recently, for last 20 years I am using, I can't say they are recently developed modes. Allow the ventilator to control volume or pressure based on a volume feedback. Switch within a single breath. I'll show you how. Switch between different breaths. So they are mainly microprocessor type of ventilators, and they started coming in the market in late 80s when the ventilation changed from solid state ventilators to microprocessor based ventilators. Because in solid state, combining two modes was not possible. It could make possible because of the microprocessor based technology. Coming to volume assured pressure support, it combines the high variable flow of pressure limited breath. So in pressure limited breath, what happens? Flow is very variable with a constant volume delivery of a volume limited breath. So trying to constant a volume and giving a variable flow of a pressure breath. Breath is initiated by patient or maybe time triggered. So either ventilator is giving breath or patient is taking breath. It can happen in both the phases. Sorry. During pressure support, VAPS is a safety net and always supplies a minimum tidal volume. So in a spontaneous breath, you switch on the VAPS, it causes a safety net. So if patient is taking less than what you have set on the machine, it will pull up that breath up to that tidal volume. So it will work as a safety net. It will guarantee a minimum tidal volume. Once the breath is triggered, ventilator will attempt to reach the pressure support setting as quickly as possible. So flow will go immediately as high as possible to attain the pressure support as quickly as possible. And in that time it plays. The portion of the breath is pressure controlled breath portion and is associated with a rapid variable flow. This decreases the work of breathing. As you know, if we increase the flow, it decreases work of breathing because it will take care of the resistance part. So as you can see here in this cycle, this is a pressure limited volume breath. This is a pressure support level. This is a flow. So this is a pressure tracing. This is a flow tracing. So as you can see here, the tidal pressure support level is here. Ventilators assess that tidal volume is less. It increase the tidal volume here. So it increased the pressure support level immediately. And you can see the peak flow settings has come down. The settings has changed. And over a period of time, the moment there is an increase, here you can compare, there is an increase in inspiratory time as well. So ventilator, this microprocessor has calculated that with this much of duration, I cannot deliver this much of tidal volume. So it has increased inspiratory time to deliver that much of tidal volume. And by changing the flow pattern, as you can see here, the flow pattern has also been changed. Suddenly the flow has become high. Coming to another mode, PRVC, pressure regulated volume control. As many must have used this mode. VAPS, I don't know how many people have used because it was available in Bird's ventilator and Later on, Nalcor, probably Puritan Bennett has taken over Buds. I don't know which company has taken over. But 20 years back, I was a fan of this mode. I used a lot. PRVC is available in Mackay. Probably many of you must have used the PRVC mode. It's a assist control ventilation. Company says it's a pressure control. I say it's a volume control. Because as you can say, name is pressure regulated volume control. I'll show you how. So pressure control titrated to a set tidal volume. Ventilator estimates a volume upon pressure relationship in each breath, and ventilator adjusts level of the pressure control breath by breath. Breaths could be ventilator initiated, could be patient initiated. One has to set minimum frequency as well. I'll show you how. So first breath is not here. That is why you are getting confused. It is looking like a pressure controlled breaths. Simple. What happens? Once you switch on the PRVC mode, ventilator will deliver first breath as a volume control breath. So for PRVC, if you have set the tidal volume of 400 ml, ventilator will deliver a tidal volume of 400 with a volume control breath. And on that volume control breath, ventilator will calculate the plateau pressure. So for 400 tidal volume, how much plateau pressure patient is generating, that plateau pressure will work as a benchmark. And the next pressure control breath will be delivered up to that plateau pressure. So for example, for tidal volume of 400, plateau pressure was say 30. So ventilator will take this 30 as a pressure control level for next breath and deliver a pressure control breath with a limit of 30. That's how it works. And then ventilator will again calculate that with pressure control of 30, how much tidal volume has been generated. If the tidal volume is less, it will increase the pressure. If the tidal volume is high, it will decrease the pressure. So simple. But they are charging heavily for this simple thing. So PRVC is doing test breath, measure tidal volume, compare the set tidal volume. It is less, increase the inspiratory pressure. If it is more, decrease the inspiratory pressure. If same, it's okay. Advantages: decelerating inspiratory flow pattern is there. Pressure automatically adjusts for changes in the compliance and resistance within a set range. Mind you, it works within a set range. It cannot work at infinity. Tidal volume is guaranteed. Limits volume trauma. Prevents hypoventilation. So ideal for ARDS patients. Maintaining the minimum peak pressure that provides a constant tidal volume, automatic weaning of the pressure as patient improves. So you can imagine gradually the patient's compliance is increasing. So with a set initial pressure control of 30, he is generating 400. Now with the next 2 hours, he started generating 440. So ventilator starts bringing down the pressure support. So you can imagine over at a time period, patient is automatically weaned with a lower pressure. So you don't have to go there and change the knob from 30 to 25, 25 to 22, 22 to 20, something like that. Sorry, there is some disadvantages also. Pressure delivered is dependent on the tidal volume achieved on the last breath. So if patient is having some intermittent efforts, then ventilator will deliver variable tidal volumes. And if patient is having variable effort, there will be asynchrony. So it is less suitable for the patients with asthma or COPD. Here you can see, if there is a dysynchrony, like here the tidal volume is normal, then high, then low. So now ventilator is getting confused because of the variable effort. Coming to another mode, auto mode. Auto mode was present in Siemens ventilator before the changed name to Mackay. I don't know whether you people have used it or not. It was a beautiful mode. It was introduced in 900 model. It was designed to allow the ventilator to be interactive with the patient's need by making breath by breath adjustment. It automatically shifts between controlled ventilation, supported ventilation and spontaneous ventilation. So it was a true auto mode. You put the patient on control mode, start auto mode, and next day morning you find that your patient is almost weaned. So it changes from volume control to volume support. pressure regulated volume control to volume support, pressure control to pressure support, and back and forth also. If here patient is taking apnea, not taking breath, it will go back to automatically to the previous thing. Coming to another modality, I don't say it's a mode, it's a different modality available in Draeger, many ventilators, GE ventilators, Hamilton ventilators. It's a automatic tube compensation. Try to understand, there is a tube inside the trachea and that tube must be causing some resistance, and that resistance is there in both the phases, inspiratory phase as well as expiratory phase. And mind you, we are measuring pressures at what level? We are not measuring those pressures, airway pressures or PEEP at the tracheal level or carinal level. We are measuring those pressures out of the tube, majority of time either at the expiratory port or with the transducer which is at the Y connector. In few ventilators you connect the transducer there. So we are not measuring the exact pressure changes which is happening in the carina because of the endotracheal tube. So what is happening? It overcomes the resistance to flow created by an endotracheal tube or tracheostomy tube, gives the patient the sensation that they are not intubated because you take care of the resistance, so work of breathing automatically goes down in both the phases, inspiratory as well as expiratory phase. Most important during spontaneous breath, because in control mode changes don't matter too much because patient is on control mode, but in spontaneous mode it matters more because work of breathing is already high. May provide a calculated tracheal pressure curve on the graphs display and can be used to train respiratory muscles. So you can switch it off and on in between to increase the muscle training of patient. What is happening? It adds additional pressure to overcome the resistance imposed by the tube diameter and the flow. So this is your set pressure, but at the initial of the ventilation inspiratory phase, it increases the pressure because the ventilator knows there is a calculator fit in the ventilator microprocessor where you have to feed that tube number 9, tube number 8.5, tube number 7, which tube you have put, and you want 100% compensation or how much compensation. So because of that thing, tubes are pretty standard nowadays. Ventilator automatically knows that the flow which ventilator is delivering to that particular breath, how much resistance that will create, and ventilator automatically increases the pressure to counter that resistance. Same thing is happening. Consider using in the patients who have high inspiratory flow requirements. So those patients, COPD patients who are having very high inspiratory flow, you can use those parameters. Same thing, I have missed one slide. Same thing can be happen in the expiratory phase also. Try to understand, when patient is trying to expire, again the resistance is there. You have set a PEEP of 5, but actually because of that resistance, that PEEP might be little higher. So in the expiratory phase, what this mode do? They calculate again the resistance and bring the PEEP level little bit. So at the initiation of the expiration, the pressure comes down below the PEEP just to facilitate the expiration, and then it maintains at the level of the PEEP. Coming to another mode, adaptive support ventilation, ASV. This mode is developed and patented by Hamilton people, and it's a workhorse of the Hamilton. This is a mainstay of the Hamilton, and they sell it all around the world with this mode only. It's a very versatile mode based on minimal work of breathing concept, electronic ventilator management protocol that may improve the safety and efficacy of mechanical ventilation. So again, it's a microprocessor based ventilation. The algorithm is set into the ventilator, and ventilator delivers the breath as per that algorithm. It automatically adapts the ventilator settings to the patient passive and active respiratory mechanics, and variables are measured on a breath to breath basis and altered by ventilator algorithm to meet the desired targets. So it is initially designed to reduce episode of central apnea in CHF patients, improvement in sleep quality, decrease daytime sleepiness. It can be used for patients who are at risk for central apnea, like those with brain damage. Improved ventilator patients interactions are there. It decreases use of sedation, and it's helpful mode of weaning. If patient breathes spontaneously, ventilator will pressure support the breath. Spontaneous and mandatory breaths can be combined to meet the minute ventilation. So you set a support level, you set a minute ventilation, you put a patient's weight. That's it. You have to do that's it. And patient ventilator will start automatically. If patient starts taking spontaneous breath, pressure ventilator will just support them to maintain the tidal volume. Minute ventilation. If the minute ventilation is not achieved, patient will in between give his control breath, mandatory breath to jack up that minute ventilation. It reduces dead space ventilation, it avoids auto PEEP, it discourages rapid shallow breathing index because rate is controlled by the ventilator. That's how these three things are happening. These three things are mainly happens when there is patient is having tachypnea. So here the tachypnea is controlled by the ventilation. And minor changing in the patient's activity, mirror changing in the patient's activity. So another option is called auto flow. What is happening in the auto flow? Auto flow is again patented by Draeger people. It's available with the volume control mode. There is a switch of auto flow. You have to just switch it on. I don't know how many of you have worked with auto flow or not. Anybody has worked? Okay. I'll try to make it as easy as possible. Try to imagine the same principle what I told about the dual mode. We are trying to, in a volume control, the flow is fixed. And what do you mean by auto flow? Variable flow. Same thing we are doing here. Only the name changes. Got it? So what is happening in volume control mode? The moment we switch the auto flow on, flow becomes variable. So again it combines the volume beauty of volume control and the benefit of pressure control both. This is the flow pattern, volume control. As you know, fixed flow. The moment you switch on the auto flow, flow becomes high and variable. Ventilator automatically regulates the inspiratory flow as to deliver set tidal volume per lung compliance. Set tidal volume is delivered at minimal possible pressure. So ventilator is changing flow to deliver at minimal possible pressure. This is what is happening. These are pressure waveforms, volume controlled. This is a typical pressure versus time graph of a volume controlled breath. The moment you switch it on, it automatically becomes the pressure control type of breath. And the moment compliance is improved, the pressure goes down. So again, it is almost working like a PRVC. It's almost working. The only difference is the patent name. And because of the patent, they have changed technology little bit. The milliseconds, the feedback mechanism, how ventilator is calculating, changing, those things have changed, but essentially basics are same. So it is a, you can say, surrogate of PRVC with the Draeger. Spontaneous breathing is also possible throughout the cycle. This is not possible in PRVC. Here they have done that one can breathe here also. So they have combined the APRV thing also, little bit of APRV thing in this. So there is no asynchrony with variable patient effort. If you remember in PRVC, if patient was having variable breath, there was a asynchrony. But because of the spontaneous breath applicability, that problem has taken care here. You can see beautifully here. So without a spontaneous breath, everything looks so neat and clean. With a spontaneous breath, again, things are not looking neat and clean, but there is no asynchrony. Can be used in all volume oriented modes, tidal volume guaranteed while keeping lowest peak pressures and allows spontaneous breathing, allows inverse ratio ventilation with awake and spontaneously breathing patients, better ventilator patient synchrony, less need of sedation and paralysis. Another mode, proportional assist ventilation, it's a pressure support, varies with the inspiratory effort. Muscular effort and airway pressure assistance are better matched for proportional assist than the pressure support. PAV acts as an auxiliary muscle whose strength is regulated by proportionally constant determined by the clinician. So the philosophy is here, if you ask more, ventilator will give more. If you ask less, ventilator will say thank you very much, take whatever you like. So at present, PAV cannot account for auto PEEP. There is a small chance of inappropriate support to be applied. I'll show you how. This is the pressure support, proportional assist or partial pressure support ventilation. High patient effort, you can see the negative deflection is there in the pressure. This is the pressure of muscles. This is the flow. The moment the pressure is patient demand is high, the flow is got increased. And this is the proportional pressure support. This is the ventilator pressure. So this is a gastric pressure in the gastric mucosa pressure. PAV attempts to regulate the pressure output of the ventilator movement by movement in as per the patient demand for flow and volume. When the patient wants more, gets more help. When demands less, gets less. To regulate pressure, PAV uses the monitored flow and a calculated assessment of the mechanical properties of the respiratory system as input patient comfort. So advantages: patient comfort, patient needs are nearly completely met, no hyperventilation, less sedation, less airway pressure, hypercapnic respiratory failure in COPD can be used easily, improves synchrony between neural and mechanical inflation time, and increases sleep efficiency. Disadvantages: spontaneous breathing is essential for this procedure, no minimum support guaranteed, setting requires knowledge of resistance and compliance, instability possible if setting is incorrect, tube leakage may impair function. Coming to one mode which is little bit relatively new. So otherwise I was telling you all the advanced mode, but they are all old modes. This mode is relatively new, launched in India close to maybe 4 or 5 years back. This is a neurally adjusted ventilatory assist. How many are using it? Okay. So what is happening? Try to understand what happens in a patient where the respiratory signal starts at the central nervous system. The moment the signal is generated in the respiratory centers in the brain, it travels through the phrenic nerve, reaches to the diaphragm. Nerve muscle ending at the diaphragm starts contracting. Then the moment diaphragm starts contracting, negative pressure generates in the lung. Chest wall also starts moving, and that's how the pressure volume flow changes occurs. So in a normal ventilator, conventional technology, we measure, the ventilator measures that now patient is demanding something, triggers at this level. Any doubt about this? But what is happening? You can see how much time delay is there. For this much of the time, patient is being deprived of any ventilation. So work of breathing is increasing, dysynchrony is increasing. So what is happening here? We put a Rice tube type thing which is having these type of electrodes, is being put into the esophagus of the patient and placed at the diaphragm, and this senses the electrical potential being generated by the motor end plates at the diaphragm level, and this gives the signal to the amplifying unit, signal processing unit, and it triggers the ventilatory unit. So signals are being captured at the diaphragm level, and that's how ventilator is triggering. And not only the ventilator is triggering, the initiation of breath, the augmentation, the support level, and the change of the cycle from inspiration to expiration, all three phases are governed by this electrical potential of the diaphragm. So don't you feel it's an ideal technology? I don't know why you people are not using this technology. No, I am using. So you put a tube like this, these are the electrodes, and you catch a signal like this on the screen of the ventilator. So electrical activity of respiratory muscles used as an input, that is called EADI, cycling on, cycling off, determined by EADI, as I already told you, by the electrical potential of the diaphragm muscles. Amount of assistance for a given EADI is a user control gain factor. So like in a pressure support, we put up a support of say 10 centimeter, 20 centimeter. Here we don't put a support of 10 centimeter, 20 centimeter. We put up a support of 5 milliampere, 2 milliampere, 6 milliampere, something like that. Some milliamperes are there. In EDI form we support it. There is a synchrony between neural and mechanical inspiratory time which is guaranteed, and patient comfort is paramount here. Another thing which I missed out in the slide of this NAVA, that it beautifully can be used with non-invasive ventilation. Rather, it's an ideal technology for non-invasive ventilation, because in non-invasive ventilation, the dysynchrony is the biggest cause of the failure of an IV. Because what happens, diaphragm is working hard, diaphragm is contracting, but because of the airway collapse, upper airway collapse or resistance, when NIV is not able to trigger. But try to imagine, if we are capturing the changes of electrical potential in diaphragm and ventilator is automatically triggering, all the dyssynchrony is taken care of. So coming to the last mode is high frequency oscillatory ventilation. In last few years, it was much debated mode, and many places its use has been declining since the publication of 2 papers. Sachin will discuss those 2 papers in the studies part. It's a use of CPAP, small pressure swings, lung protective device, lung support for oxygenation and CO2 removal, and it's a ultimately low tidal volume technology. So indications are ARDS, where you are using a pressure control inverse ratio ventilation, where you are using paralysis, and where the very high FiO2 is there, where there is a leak syndrome, air leak syndrome is already there, and those patients where you are planning to put ECMO. It won't help with the COPD, with the pulmonary fibrosis, with the asthma patients and sarcoid patients, because as you know, all these patients are non-recruitable patients, so it won't work there. This is how we set. I don't want to go into detail. So start amplitude in 30s and adjust until wiggle. Wiggle is like how many of you have seen the bullet motorcycle and experience sit on that? It's like move thak, 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 like this. So the high frequency is also same way. It moves thak, 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 same way. So the wiggle factor is that vibratory movement, they should be coming down up to the thigh. If they are coming up to the thigh, it means your settings are okay. Because here you cannot auscultate chest, you can't get anything. So you have to be sure of your pressure settings, amplitude settings, that your settings are correct. Okay. Adjust in the increment to the 3 of the 5 centimeters. Subjectively follow the wiggle. Objectively follow transcutaneous CO2 or a PaCO2, whatever way you like. The initial inspiratory time setting is 33%. CO2 removal is inadequate. Increase inspiratory time to 50%. Increase inspiratory time increases tidal volume. Remember, the goal is not to achieve the normal PaCO2 and pH, but to minimize ventilator associated lung injury. So here the principle of permissive hypercapnia starts playing role. As you can see, the advantages: enables ventilation above the closing volume. What is happening here? This is the again injury zone, injury zone. This is the conventional ventilation. This is also injury zone, and it is we are using this zone, and we are using super PEEP in a safe way. So to conclude, modern ventilators offer several potentially very useful new modes designed for a variety of purpose. Most of the newer modes offer the benefit of pressure limited breaths with the security of an assured minimal tidal volume. So they are combining both tidal volume and pressure ventilation, and more patient comfort with less patient work is there. So in some ways we are as confused as ever, but we believe that we are confused on a higher level and about more important things. I don't know about you people. Thank you very much.